Today we are going to go through the process and steps and different options for using the HOSA conference management system. We'll start with at the very beginning. If you've never used the system before, the downloadable version is what we're going to be talking about. You can download it in the Macintosh, Apple, or PC platforms. To do that, you'll go to the HOSA website at www.hosa.org. Then you're going to go to Advisor and State Advisor. When you're on that page, you will scroll down and you will see HOSA Conference Management System right here. And then under here, you'll see Download, and you've got a version for Windows and a version for other platforms. You're going to click on the version that matches your platform and download and install. I've already downloaded and installed, so I'm not going to show you that process, but it's much like downloading and installing any other executable file. It'll come down into a download folder. You'll double click, run it, follow the instructions, and then we'll be ready to open the program, which is where we will pick up. So I'm using a Mac computer, so the functionality is the same. The program looks the same. Once you've downloaded and installed it, everything acts the same, so there won't be any differences between the two platforms. So I'm going to get in here and go to where I can open it. And you'll see I've got HOSA Conference Management System, and I renamed the folder 2015. It defaults as 2014 since the new updates were made in the fall, but I just renamed it for the ease of remembering to 2015. And then once I get in here, I'm going to click on the command file to launch the program. When you're working on a PC, you can put icons and shortcuts on your desktop, and you can launch it that way. So won't be too difficult. Waiting for it to finish its initialization. So the first time you open it, you will see the one-time setup of the HOSA Conference Management System box. And it's going to ask you what kind of conference you plan to manage. It's got regional, state, or national. So depending on what type of conference you're running at your state, you'll select either regional or state. For my purposes, I'm going to select national. At this point, it's going to ask you for your state user ID and password. I will use the one for National HOSA to log into my account and hit continue. So at that point, it's going to start the process of downloading the data for your state and your conferences. This could take a minute or two to 10 minutes, depending on the size of your conference and the speed of your internet connection. So as it's downloading, we'll wait for just a minute and proceed once the conference is downloaded. All right, when you see this screen pop up, you'll know that it's completed the downloading process and you're ready to open a particular conference. Now, if you're in a state that runs multiple regionals or area conferences, you may have multiple and you'll have to download or open each one as you want to access it. But we can talk about that later. And as you're working through this process, if at any time you need National HOSA's assistance, Bobby or I will be glad to assist you, and we can walk through the process and answer any questions. But we're hopeful this will give you at least a a quick overview and get you going. So you've downloaded the conference, you're ready to open a conference. So you'll go under Conference up here on the menu and go to Open, and then you're going to click on Download New Conference from HOSA. And so once you click on that, it's going to tell you what conferences you've set up online that are available to download. So right here I've got Brandon's Test Regional Conference, and that's what I want to download and open. I've also got another conference that says Test. If you had multiple areas, or say you did a fall leadership and a state conference, you only want to click and download the one that you want to utilize. If you need them all, then you'll have to go through and download each one and then open it as you need that particular conference. So I'm going to hit download, and once it's downloaded that conference and it's ready to go, you'll see up here on the top bar of the box, it's going to say HOSA Conference Management System, and then a colon, and then the name of the conference that's open. So if you are working with multiple area conferences or regional conferences, to make sure you always know which conference you're in, it will tell you right up here at the top of the box with the name of the conference. So now that you've downloaded and you've got your data, you're ready to, we'll start by looking at reports. So under Conference and Reports. So I recommend that you don't download this and open your conference until after your registration date. If you do, any data that you download is then going to be locked, and nobody will have the ability to edit their data. So do not download this until your registration is closed and you're ready to start working with the data. So otherwise, I recommend using the online system to view reports and look at anything you need to look at prior to the close of your registration. Otherwise, again, this will validate the data and lock out those who have put it in. It won't prevent other people from putting in more members or more data, but it will lock those that are in there and prevent them from editing if you download prior to your cutoff date for registration. So once you've downloaded, if you have a late registration period and some other people came in and you need to go download them, you could go to download new registrations. It's going to again ask for your ID and password, and then it'll bring down any additional people that may not have been included in your initial download. Say a school needed to register late, you reopen the system, you let them do it. You can go in and get this data brought down, but if you deleted anybody out in between that time, it will re-pull them back into the system. So any changes that may have been made as far as a deletion of a participant or a delegate, they will be re-added if you re-download the data, just so you know there. So we'll go into reports, and all of the reports here will look very similar to the reports that you've seen online through the online conference management system. You've got activity report by school. That's going to give you the ability to export a spreadsheet that shows what everybody's registered for. Activity report by participant will just be individual participants and their activities. Competitor count report, it's going to, well, this one doesn't have data, but it's going to give you a count of the total number of competitors in a particular event. And also, so if you're looking for what your total number of participants in a team event is, not total number of teams, this will tell you for HOSA Bowl there may be 20 teams, but you don't know, since the number could be 3 or 4 per team. It'll tell you what that exact number is, if it's 99 or 200 total participants. This will help you obviously in scheduling number of seats for a test and number of total participants, not just team numbers. option activity report. If you've got leadership academies, if you've got other options that they've registered for, t-shirts, pens, anything that you may have put in there other than competitive events, advisor breakfasts, those types of things, there will be a drop down here at the bottom, and if you've included any option activities, you can go in there and print reports for those individually by their event that'll tell you who registered and how many. Competitor event, we're going to preview. You can print or preview. This will show you again total number of people and the participant type. So it'll break it down if you have post-secondary competitors or just secondary or some other type, middle school. If you have registration types, it'll break it out by type and event and the total number of competitors. Again, helpful for maybe numbering, knowing total number of seats and total number of teams as opposed to participants. You can get total number of participants in the event registration summary. When you go in here, it'll list all your events, and it's going to tell you total number of kids registered. And then for those that have multiple numbers that can compete, that's why the competitor count report is important, because it'll tell you total number of teams, not necessarily just total number of participants. So on HOSA Bowl or public service announcement or some of those events where you can have anywhere from 3 to 4 or 2 to 5 or something like that, and you want to know how many total teams so you can figure out how long to allocate for judging, you can go into competitor count report, and it'll tell you total numbers of teams for the team events. The rest, it's going to give you the same report as event registration summary. Event registration by classification, if you only wanted to get a report that included secondary or post-secondary or just middle school, you could go in here and those different divisions would be available in the drop down, and you can print just the secondary competitors or just the post-secondary. Event registration summary by chapter. So if you have multiple chapters in here, it's going to tell you, so the chapter here is National HOSA. If you had multiples, it would say Stillwater High School, Flower Mound High School, South Lake High School, and it's going to tell you the total number of competitors in that event from that school. So that's what that one gives you. Event registration summary by state. If not really relevant for a state conference, since you don't have multiple states going, that's really more of a national report. Event registration summary, secondary, post-secondary, collegiate. It's going to give you a breakdown in columns as to how many competitors and the total. So this can be real helpful again in planning how many, if you're running sections for secondary or post-secondary, and kind of give you ideas of how many in each division and those things. So a helpful report if you've got more than just secondary students competing. Now you get down to the registration summaries, again much similar to the event registrations, but this is just total people registered for the conference, not just competitive events. So event summary by classification, if you preview that, you'll see there's 3 secondary registered for this conference. State and classification, really more of a national report, not necessarily needed for states, but registration summary by school and classification can be handy for a state. Registration summary by school. is going to give you a list of the school and the total registered. So if you had multiple schools registered, it would list them all down here with their charter number, the name of the school, the state, charter number, school name, and then total registered from that school. Registration summary by state really doesn't apply to a state conference. If you had, again, multiple states, like a national conference would, then it would list the states and the total number registered. Registration, the invoice is important. If you need to print an invoice for a particular school, it gives the list of registered. You can click invoice or school registration summary invoice, go down here in the drop-down list and find your school, and then hit preview and you'll see it pops up. You've got 3 people registered. Then on the next page, when you go to the next page, you'll see it gives you the summary and the total due down here. So also provides your option activities and those different things. So that's available in there. State registration summary, if you run that one, it's going to put all of your invoices in one report together for your state report. Helpful for you as a state advisor, just to see what all your state is doing. Participant listing is going to list all the people that are registered for the conference, and it's going to list them by event. And then participant listing by type, you can divide it out into secondary or post-secondary. Back up here, we'll look at options activities, and you'll see no options activities available. But if you did have some, they'd appear in the list and you could print a report for them. So those are all your generic reports. Again, very similar to what you are probably familiar with seeing on the online registration system. So we'll close out our reports. Again, if there's something you need, a report that you think might be useful, we love suggestions. We can't promise that it'll happen overnight, but we do love to add things. So if as you're working through the system and you think, well, this report or this data, if I could have that, it would make my job easier, certainly let us know and we will work to see if we can add those things for you in the future versions. Other things under the conference menu. Exports. There's important things under exports. If you're going to make name badges for your conference and you want to get all the names and the school information out so you can set up a mail merge in Windows or Excel or whatever other program you might want to use to do that, you can come over here and choose the certificates and name badges. Always recommend taking the quoting character out and just leaving that line blank, leaving it as comma delimited up here, or if you want to use some other something to designate your delimiter, but comma is your most standard format. So then you're going to hit export and name the file. So you know, conference badge, and then you'll want to name it .csv for comma separated values, and then choose the location where you want to save it. I'm going to put it in my downloads folder and hit save. So it's going to download. Then you can go into Excel, double check that your data is there and it matches what you think it should. We'll open it up. In just a second. Here we go. File, open. We go to the downloads folder. There's conference badge. We're going to say all files so we can open a CSV file. And it's going to open up and show you our 3 people that are registered for this conference: first name, last name, school. So depending on what information you want to put on your name badge, if you want to put first name, last name, and school, or just first and last name, or you know, at nationals we obviously include state. So you can choose the data you want to put on and merge it in, but that data will come down with the export for name badges and certificates. If you do a participation certificate that you want to merge everybody's name onto, that's a good file. Now, if you're wanting to do competitor ID labels or anything like that, you'd export event cards. You could come in here, you'll select your event. We had nursing, assisting registrants, so we could select that. Now, you won't be able to export any event cards data until you've sectioned, because no IDs will get assigned for the competitors until, or it was clinical nursing, sorry, but no IDs will be assigned for a competitor until the sectioning process isn't complete. We'll go through sectioning an event in a minute, but so you can't do any of this export until you've completed your sectioning process. But that's how you get cards that, or the data out that would show you their competitor ID and what time you've slotted them to come and compete. So other exports in here, you've got an event registration that if you want to export all of the event and registration data for the competitors into Excel, you can run that report and it'll come down and give you their name and the event they've registered for. So if you want to do your tabulations in Excel or some other external format, you can get it down that way. The event winners PowerPoint. Once you've completed your tabulation and all your results are in, if you wanted to create a PowerPoint of the winners that you could put up on the screen or use as a script for your narrator, you can come in here and do event winner PowerPoint, and it's going to give you a list of all the events in the system, and you can select if you've got round 1 and round 2, you'll always want to only select round 2 or you'll wind up being confused. So you'll want to go through here and look at the events, select. You can use the control or open option key on a Mac to select multiple events that you want to bring down, or you can just do export all. But again, if you've got a round 1 and a round 2, you don't want to bring down round 1. That'll just confuse the system. So make sure you select the ones you want and then hit export selected. It's going to then pull them out into a PowerPoint format where you can then do your editing. It will randomize the top 10, or you can actually select over here. If you're a state that only brings 5 finalists, you can change that to 5 and have, you know, final 3. Or if you have, you know, 5 medalists, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 finalists, 5 or 10, however you want to do it. Then you can export it, and it's going to come down. Your finalist will come down on, usually broken down into 1 or 2 slides, depending on how many finalists, up to 5 per slide. And those will be in random order, and then the next slide that follows that will be your 3, 2, 1 or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, depending on how many people you're awarding medals to, what place you go up to, but it'll put them in the order from lowest place to first place. So again, helpful. You may not want to put the PowerPoint on screen, but that's also a good way to print a good script for your narrator to go by. It'll have big fonts, and you can just run the PowerPoint out so that it's easy for them to read. Those are kind of, let me see if there's any other exports. You can export your top 10 to Excel, or you can export top 10 for web format. If you need those things, let us know and we'll work with you to understand how to use those. We'll go up here now under the next to the conference menu is the registration menu. And this is where you can go in and make changes to a delegate or enter a payment into the system for a school if you want to track your payments. So we'll go into view data, and this will list all of the people who are registered for your conference. And you've got ability over here to search or edit. So say we want to edit Joseph De Leon. We're going to highlight him here, and we're going to click edit, and his information is going to come up. And say his name was misspelled, or he didn't capitalize his name, we can fix that here. Or he wants to go by Joe, you can fix that here. Or he registered as a secondary, but he's really a post-secondary, you can adjust that there if that's applicable. Also down here, you can add an event. So say Joe really was supposed to be competing in clinical nursing but didn't register. You can add that, hit OK. If you have to fix any sectioning issues once the sectioning is completed, a new competitor is added or there's been a substitution, you'll also come in here and you can manually section by then clicking on the event, hitting section, going in here. We won't go through that quite yet because we haven't done the original sectioning and that'll mess it up, but that's where you would do sectioning changes after the fact. Also, you've got a box down here for options activities. So if something is wrong, this person really needed a extra large t-shirt or something different, you could have selected it here and added it or deleted it. Just hit save, and then that change is made. You can also add a new person after you've downloaded. Say you get a new registrant, you can come in here and hit new, put a new person in. You'd select the school that they attend, select their gender, their classification, and go down here and add an event. Let's do an individual event, hit OK, and then just go down here and hit OK, and there I am. I'm now in the list of registrants. So that's the way you would add a person once you've downloaded the data. You don't have to go back online and add them there. You can just add them in. Or if there's a, say you've got, say Jeff Kinniger can't come, but Bobby Crandall's going to replace him, you can come in here for Jeff Kinniger and just highlight over my name, type in Bobby. Oh, whoops, I misspelled Bobby. Let me fix that. And there you go. All fixed, ready to go. Substitution. All right, so now we've looked at that. If you wanted to change a payment or enter a payment, you could come in here to payments under registration, new school payment. Then you would select a school, National HOSA. They've paid $40. You can put in their check number and then hit OK. And then you're going to see a list of payments. And then when you run out a new invoice, it's going to reflect that on the invoice. if you want to track your payments this way. You may track them in QuickBooks or some other way that you're doing invoices, but we do give you this ability if you were to choose to use it. And really for you, the only thing that really matters is school payments. Nationally, we use state payments to help track state since we get money at a state level, but the new state payment really doesn't pertain to state and regional conferences. All right, so now we're going to dive into the event menu and take a look at the different options you have here. We're going to start with sectioning an event. So you'll go down here when you're ready. You've got all your information together and you're ready to section the events and assign competitor times and all of that. You're going to come into section events, and it's going to pop up this menu, and you're going to choose the event you want to do. So we've got some competitors registered in this conference in clinical nursing, so that's what we're going to select. We're then going to hit next, and over here it's going to ask you for some information on the event. So you're going to determine if it's a round 1 or round 2 event. Obviously this is round 1. We haven't had a round 2 yet, but if you've done round 1 and you've entered your test scores, then you would select round 2. That's important that you go through this process slowly and carefully and make sure you don't resection over something you've already done or entered. That can create problems because it'll assign new IDs and throw things out of whack, especially if you're using Scantron forms and you've pre-printed your Scantrons. So again, be very careful to make sure you don't resection events that have been sectioned and you select the right round. So then time in minutes or competitors. So say you're doing, we selected clinical nursing, and say, just hypothetically speaking, this isn't round 1, but this is round 2, and we're wanting to assign appointment times. And we want competitors to come every 8 minutes. So we're going to put time in minutes as 8. And then competitors per time slot, we're just going to put 0. And then sectioning preference, we're going to do number of sections, and then we're just going to say we have 1 section, but if you've got a big event and you've got multiple sections that you want the competitors divided out amongst, you would put 2, 3, 4, how many ever sections you need to be running. And then if you've got, if you want your post-secondary and secondary distributed evenly amongst sections, you want to check the allow sections with mixed member types. If you want a section that's separate for post-secondary from secondary, then do not check that box, and it'll put, and you put 2 sections, then it'll put all of your secondary in section 1 and all of your post-secondary collegiate or middle school in section 2. So once you've made those selections there, then hit next. And it's going to pop up this box where you need to put in some other information. So here's section 1. We selected only 1 section. If you had multiple sections, it would say 1, 2, 3, 4 below here. So we're going to then put in the date in the format that it asks for. And then you'll put in your start time. So if the event starts at 10 o'clock and goes every 8 minutes after that, then you'll click on this box, change that to 10, and tab to the next box. Now you've got the ability, say you've got a big event, like I know in some states career health display or health career display now can get very large and cumbersome. And say you've got judges, but you want to schedule a break for them. So you could come in here and say, I want to give them a 10-minute break, and then I want to give it to them at noon. And then if you wanted to do another one, so forth and so on, so that you could schedule breaks, and then when the system is assigning appointment times, it's going to automatically give a 10-minute break at noon for the judges to go to the restroom and get a drink or whatever you want them to do. Or if you want them to stop and eat lunch and you need to give them an hour, you can put in 60 minutes and tell them at noon we're going to take an hour for a judge lunch, and then they're going to come back and they're going to do the rest of them after that, starting at 1 o'clock. So once you put in your start time, any break times that may apply, and you've got it right, then hit finish and you're done. So you'll do that for every event that you've got. You're going to go in and complete the sectioning process. Once you've completed the sectioning process, that's when you can go back under exports and event cards and export that data as Excel, where you can merge them onto labels or the back and name badges, however you need to do it, so that you can give competitors appointment times. Now, say you did online testing for your state or regional conference, and you want to bring in those scores into this system for testing. So you've got this download online testing results. It'll ask for your ID and password, and you're going to hit login, and then it's going to give you options of conferences. So depending on what the name of the conference where there was testing is, you can select that conference, and it's going to match the competitors' names and scores up and bring them down. Then once you've brought them down, now before you bring down any testing scores, you will have had to section the events. So you'll section your events, then download this, and then you can then tabulate and build round 2 for events that had a round 1 test. Or if it's your health science events where it's only a test, then you can tabulate, rank your finalists, and be done. So if you are doing this and certainly need more detail or assistance, let us know and we can work with you on this process. But it's pretty easy to go ahead and get your scores down that way if you're doing your testing prior to the students coming to the conference. Next, you've got tabulate events. So once you've got scores that you want to enter and you're ready to tabulate and put the scores into the system, so we can come in here into clinical nursing. We've sectioned it. The event's taken place. We've got scores to enter. You're going to select the round. So if it's a round 1 or round 2, you'll select which round you're entering scores for. You're going to hit next. So there's your first person. You've got different boxes here. Not to be confused, if you're putting in a test score, saying you got a 75 there, and then they did their skills, and they got a 20 on skill 1, and then they did a second skill in clinical nursing, and they got a 10 on that one, and you'd put in those scores here and then hit next. And then you do it for, if you're manually entering scores, this is how you would do it. If you're importing them from Scantron, we'll go through that process in a minute, but if you're manually entering scores, you come in here, test scores go here, skill scores go here. If it's an event with multiple sections that gets deviated, then you're going to use this deviate column and you'll put the score. So say it's, say you're doing prepared speaking and you've got 3 sections. So for Samantha Joe, you'd put in her score in the deviate, and it's going to know, because of the sectioning and the fact that it's multiple sections, that deviation will occur, and then it's going to work its magic and adjust the scores based on the multiple sections. So a deviated event, and we've got different tabulations guides that tells you exactly how to handle if an event is deviated or not. But anyway, deviated scores, skill scores, test scores. Those are if you have bonus points at your state level, if you give bonus points for dress code, or if you take away points, you can put a -10 if they got points taken away for not bringing guidelines, or a dress code violation, you can put a negative in there. If they get some bonus for other reason and you need to add points, you can put it there as well, and that's just going to be straight points added on to their score. So once you've entered the scores, we'll put in a couple more scores here, complete the process. So we had 2 competitors. We're going to break ties manually. We don't need the system to do it for us, but there's ways that if you want it to break based on the test or skills and different things, you can select that, but we're just going to leave it manual. It's going to ask you, are you sure you're ready to rank and tabulate? You'll say yes, and there we go. We've got this tabulation report here, their rank. We're going to go ahead and hit next, and we're going to select secondary. It's going to have all the competitors in there, and you're going to do this. If you've got secondary and post-secondary collegiate, you'll do this event tabulation, or the rank in advance for each division, because it'll treat them separately. So this is going to pop up, and you're going to see real quickly, this is where you'll adjust if you had a tie. Say there was a tie for first place and you had 1 and 2, and you wanted to manually break the score. It was grading an essay, or there was something else you needed to look at that weighed into the breaking of the tie. So you would come in here, and then so somebody graded this, and you determined that Samantha Joe was really number 1, and you're going to come in here and you can double click on that, change the rank, and this one was, these were tied for 1, and Tyler Smith really got number 2. So once you've determined that and tabbed off the field, make sure you exit the box and don't try to save it with it open like that, but come off of it, and you've ranked it. Then you would hit finish. Now, if this is around 1 and you're getting ready to rank and determine, say you had 60 people and you're only going to advance the top 20 or whatever your number is to round 2. So then here you're going to look and say there may have been some ties in here, but you're taking 20 people, and maybe that break happens at rank of 15. So you would put that number in this box that you want to advance to round 2, the top 15 people, or the number of people ranked up to 15, because there could be ties in there, different things. So you just got to count and look at what number rank you want to go through. Select that in the box. Then based on the guidelines, you'll determine whether scores carry forward. Like in health profession events, a lot of times the score carries forward to round 2. You would check that box. If it doesn't, leave it undone. Then hit build next round. Are you sure you want to use this? Yes, I do. So then you hit finish, and you're done, and then you could go back in and section for round 2 if you've got to do a round 2. Otherwise, then if that was complete and you ranked it, then you're done. That event's ready to go. So that's tabulate events. Rank events. If you need to just go in and change the ranking on an event instead of going through the full tabulation process, you can just go in here, select it, go back here, and change your rank here. So instead of having to go to tabulate, you realized Tyler Smith was out past curfew. He's been disqualified, and you're going to bump up the next qualified person and you want to re-rank and take him out of the running. You can come in here and do that manually in the rank events. Reports. Now we're into all the different event reports you can generate. So you've got event competitor list, pretty simple. If you want to see just a list of event competitors, we've got clinical nursing. We'll hit preview. Boom, there they are. It's going to tell you the following data. Pretty simple. Event competitor list without school names. Say you don't want judges to be able to see what school a particular student's from. You can hit that one and it's going to take away the school name. It'll just say state and the student's name. Event competitor list by team. We don't have any team events in here, but if you ran this report and you had HOSA Bowl teams, it's going to run all their names grouped by their team instead of alphabetically or by school necessarily. So if it'll put all team 1 together, all team 2. If you've got 2 HOSA Bowl teams at Stillwater High School, it's going to list team 1 and team 2, and it'll run all your run a report of the teams together like that. Event reports sorted by state, not really relevant for state events. It's really a national report. Event reports sorted by competitor ID. If you needed that report, this tells you their competitor ID and their competitor or their competition times. You see here we had started it at 10 o'clock. The next one comes at 10:08. We did it at an 8-minute interval, and they would go so forth and so on down the line. Competitor name, that's going to give you an alpha report if you needed it for check-in or some purpose. Sometimes on like a testing event, healthcare issues exam, you may be wanting to check them in alphabetically by name. This may be a report that's easier for your people to manage. A report sorted by school. Say you want to just see all the competitors for an event by school, or you want it sorted by section. Say you've got an event with 3 sections and you want to get the competitors listed by their section to give to the various sections. You could run that report. Since we didn't have a multiple section, there's nothing to run there, but that's what that does. Event report without names. It's just going to list their competitor ID. So if you want to give it to the judges and you want them to be anonymous, you don't want the judge to know their name or their school, just their competitor ID, you can run this report and give it to the judge, and all they then are checking is, do I have the right competitor at 10 o'clock, competitor number 1. So that's what that report will give you. Tabulations report is going to give you a report that shows all of their different information for skill and test and final and their rank. You see I had re-ranked these, and that's how it holds in here, even though this one had a higher final score. It ranked them, re-ranked them after I re-ranked them. Tabulations with raw scores. So this is going to show you this will show you their scores for the different skills. And then their test score, so it's going to give you, if they have multiple, it's not going to give you the average of scores or anything like that. It's going to just give you the raw scores that were entered into the system. And then a ranking report, again, it's going to show you how we finally ranked them when we went in and did the tabulations, or the ranking report. It'll show you a final ranking of how we determined the ranking in the end. So we list them 1 through whatever you rank them through. And again, if you want to run multiple at one time, you can use your control or option feature on your keyboard and select multiple events to run reports for, so you don't have to do each event individually. Or if you wanted just to do everyone in here at once, you can do a shift and highlight them all. Some of these reports take a little longer to run than others, so don't be surprised if it takes the computer a minute to process if you've selected a lot of reports to go at once, especially on the tabulation report or the tabulation raw scores. Those can take a couple of seconds to process, so don't be surprised if it takes a minute if you've selected, 4 or 5 events to go at once or more. So those are the different reports available. Again, if you see something that's missing that would be helpful for your state, would love to hear about it. If you have questions about reports, love to work with you and help you better understand them. I mentioned that if you're using Scantrons and you're doing score importing, you're going to go to this Scantron test score import. And you can come in here and select the event that you're going to import scores for. We're going to do clinical nursing. We're going to select the around. It's round 1. We're going to browse and find the file with the scores in it. It's going to be some kind of comma separated values file that you've exported from your Scantron. You're going to put some data in here, like which column the competitor ID is in, where's the score at. If you're using our Scantron system, we've got a guide that tells you exactly what to put in these boxes. If you're using a different system, then you may want to work with us beforehand so we can look at the data that's getting exported out of your system, so we can help set up what numbers need to go where, because it may put them in different columns than our system does. But that doesn't mean if you're using, I know there's other brands of Scantrons besides Scantron brand. If you're using a different scanner that has the ability to export the scores into a database, that doesn't mean this system won't read it. It just means we may need to look at it and make certain what column they're putting the score in, what column they're putting the competitor ID in, if that stuff's available. So then you can select whether it's a test score or a skill score. Say you made an error on your first import and you wanted to delete all the scores that were in there. You can run the report again and delete all the existing scores, but I would only do that if you're sure you don't want any of the scores to remain. So then you would run that. It would bring the scores in automatically, and then you can go to building round 2 or tabulating and ranking once the scores are in, and finish that process. So chances are, if you're using Scantron, we'll have other conversations and we can go through more of that process later. If you want to just generate competitor IDs without going through a sectioning process, say you just want IDs generated, you're not going to assign specific times or do anything else, you just want to, you're going to tabulate externally, but you need them to have some kind of ID. You can run that generate IDs, you can say yes, I want to continue, and it's just going to assign IDs to all the competitors at random without any times or any of the other data. But if you want people to come at specific times, you do need to go through the sectioning process. So those are really the options. Under the help features, if we're working with you and something's going wrong and we say we need you to send us a diagnostic report, under help there's a send diagnostics to support. You can click that and it's going to automatically email us here at National HOSA a file that we can look at and try to figure out why an error might be occurring or what's happening with your data. Another feature I failed to mention, but I recommend after you've done any work in here and you've made changes, you've added scores, anything, at the end of the day or multiple times during the day after a big run of data, I recommend doing the backup feature. That way it's going to, what happens is it's going to take a snapshot backup of everything in your system at that particular moment. It's going to save it so that if something happens and your data gets corrupt, we can then restore it. And I recommend pulling that backup off the machine. It'll save it to the system folder. I recommend putting it on a jump drive so that if something happens to your computer and you need to move the system to another computer, then all we have to do is install the system on another computer, go to restore, pull that file from the jump drive, and it's going to go right to where we were when we ran that backup. So important to remember to back up your data. It can save you some heartache, headaches and other things if you have the ability. Say you mess something up and you just want to go back to basically start over to where I was yesterday. I put in some scores wrong or I did something wrong and I'd rather just start back over and I've got a backup. I can go reinstall that backup and basically start over to where that point of snapshot was. So it can be a very handy tool if you're taking backups and using them. So that's really the conference management system in a quick flyby scenario. Hopefully this helps you get going, better understand the features. Again, most of the reports are very similar to what you're familiar with online. They're just available here in this version as well. As you get going, certainly don't hesitate to call us. We're more than willing to do one-on-one training, and we can set up another go-to meeting where we could get online and share screens and look at things and walk you through specific challenges or things that may be applicable to your state. So don't hesitate to let us know how we can be most helpful in making your state conference a success. Thanks. Have a good day.